Hi everyone. So today I'll just demo you what we had presented in AWS Community Builder Community Day in Pune, which was on 23rd of August. We had presented a talk like Zameer and me. We had combinedly presented a talk on observability and security tools, DevSecOps. It is basically from logs to logs. How can you combine and bridge the gaps between security and observability? I'll not walk through the whole PPT that we presented there. I'll just show you the demo that we had actually presented. You can walk through this whole PPT once you get time. Like I'll just share the QR here. So that will be helpful for you to actually browse to the PPT and download the PPT. You can just scan this QR and get the PPT. I will walk you through the demo that we had presented. So yes, let me just walk you through what was the workflow that we decided to show how security breaches and observability using observability tools, we can easily detect those breaches and take corrective actions. So observability should not be an afterthought. It should be designed well before. That's what we wanted to be. It shouldn't, let's shift our models towards left and respond right rather than reactive reactions to the security breaches. We should proactively react and respond properly. So it should not be an afterthought, but it should be planned ahead of time. Before we are doing any kinds of deployments, it should be done in the planning and the development phase itself. So let me just walk you through the demo. Um, Before that, I'll just describe a scenario which can help you relate to what my security breach will look like. There's a customer and they are going to be backing up their data into one of the clouds. Let's consider for this example, it's AWS cloud. So the customer data is going to be backed up in an S3 bucket. So there's a customer. So let me just show you. This is the user action. This is one of the customer bucket. So that's a production bucket. And these are the customer files that they have backed up. So as you can easily understand that customer has backed up their data, right? So any user, be it the admin user or the IAM user or any person should not have access to this data. I mean, it should have access to the data, but it should not have permissions to delete this backup data, right? It's a production bucket, and the production bucket should only have read access and not delete or modification access because this is a backup data, right? So we have an IAM user here, which is customer one, and this is some of the ID. And you can see that I've generated an access key here. This is one of the security breach that got that got incorporated here already because this is a static credentials. If these credentials are by any chance hard coded or exposed to public internet or somewhere, then they will be used forever, right? That's like an intruder gets access to your whole production bucket, right? You until unless you go see the logs that somebody has access to it, it's I mean it's already your data is already exposed to the hacker, right? So this is one of the security breach here where you have static credentials and not dynamic credentials. So this is one of the security breach here, but today we will go forward with one of the user actions that are not allowed, should not be allowed on this bucket. That is a deletion operation, right? So one IMA user, if it performs any deletion on this bucket, this is the security breach here, and it should trigger something, that is the observability that comes here. And some corrective actions need to be taking place, right? So the permissions, the policy that I have is a wildcard access policy with star, that is over permissive permissions, right? So I am allowing all operations on any bucket. This is very much less secure because I'm allowing all operations like read, write, modify, any kinds of operations and on any bucket. So this customer is actually having almost a super privilege permissions for S3, right? So I will, this is one of the user actions that we are going to trigger. This is a security breach here. And once any user deletes that object from this bucket, this should actually trigger some kinds of events, that is some logging should be enabled and monitoring should be there. So today we are gonna see how we'll have logging and monitoring. So if we move from user actions to logging and monitoring, I have a CloudTrail event that I have already configured. This is the CloudTrail. And you can see that I have created a basic CloudTrail, and the data event that I have selected is a basic Elementor here, which I have selected my bucket prod customer 31. That was the same bucket that I had used here. And this CloudTrail, I'm going to allow the data events on S3. This is the S3 bucket and the read and the write operations. Okay. This is one of the CloudTrail that I have enabled for now. And with the CloudTrail, you have data events enabled, and you also have to create a log group. So I have to go to CloudWatch and I will create a log group. So you can just create a log group by clicking right click and create log streams. So right now you can see that I have various log streams that are already there, and this cloud group that got created, it's just a basic cloud group that I have created. Once you create the cloud group, you can also see it in the CloudTrail. So you can see the CloudWatch logs getting returned to the cloud group, that log group that I have created, and the IAM role that got created here. Once that's done, we also move towards creating a metrics. So metrics should be enabling all the actions on a specific bucket. And the specific actions that we are gonna use today is deletion, right? Delete object. So delete object on this bucket should not be allowed, or it should create an metric, that is an alert should be triggered, right? So this is one of the metrics that I created. This is alert on S3 object delete, and the metric name is this. And you can see that I have created threshold, that any operation greater than one on what bucket, that I will just show it to you. Actions, and it will create a lambda as well as notification. That's the action that's going to be performed, but on what filter I'm using. So I'm detecting a deletion operation. So delete object is the actual metric filter that I've applied. And on what bucket I have specified the bucket, that is the production bucket. And it will actually going to trigger alarms. So I have also configured two alarms here. One is alert on S3 object delete. That's the alarm that will get triggered, and that alarm is actually going to act, that is the action will be. So this is like logging and monitoring. So for logging, I'm creating the CloudTrail, and for monitoring, I'm creating CloudWatch events with log groups and alarms. And these alarms will have some kind of alerting notifications to be sent, like email or SMS or a phone call or a Slack message or a third party tool such as PagerDuty notifications or Slack or maybe New Relic, right? So all of these other third party tools can also be integrated with alarms getting triggered. So let me just walk you through what kind of alerting and notifications I've done. So this is where when the threshold increases, that metric gets triggered, and the metric actually sends an alert and notification. So alert and notification is sent to SNS topic. For now, I have created S3 delete alert topic. This is a topic that I've created. And you can see that there are subscriptions. So one subscription that I have added the endpoint as my mail ID, and with my which is email, right? This is one of the notifications that I'm gonna get. And this is confirmed. Once you actually add the mail ID, you need to actually go and confirm your mail ID. So this is one of the notifications that I will receive. And the other kind of notifications that I've created is through New Relic. So you can see I've created a incident manager response model here, where any deletion on my S3 will create a New Relic notification. I've created alerts and events there. So I have created this alert trigger CW alarm trigger on my alarm name. That was alert on S3 object delete. That was my alarm name here, if you couldn't recollect. So yes, this is the alarm name. Any alarm that gets triggered here will actually have an alert sent to New Relic as well. And I have few settings in here as well, with thresholds, with values, and you can fire the queries. So you can just click on query your data here. Once you click on query your data, it will actually, you can write the SQL query from this trigger that I have created, count the number of actual events that got triggered on what alarm name, and since how many 1 hour, 2 hours. So I recently did this. So maybe I'll get an hour, from an hour, I'll get one trigger. And I had the demo on 23rd of August. So it's almost a week from today. So it will be from 1 week. So it will be five alarms got triggered. And also I will have a mail notification here, which will have all the details of what happened, when happened, what was the thing that got triggered. So all these kinds of notifications are really important. And you can also see it in the dashboard of New Relic, where you have like you have to filter, you have to add a filter called, you have to give a time series data and a time series tag here. Once you have this, you can just go and select area or line. Once you select the line, you can actually see when the triggers got triggered. So it was on 23rd, it was also on 23rd, and then 24th, and then today. So if I select 1 hour ago, it will just have one spike here, which is today, which got triggered few minutes before. And yeah, that's about what I wanted to show. Yeah. And also you can integrate your New Relic with Slack channels. So you can see, you can go to alerts workflow and create a new workflow where you can add Slack channels. So if I click here, I've created the workflow name as AWS Community Day Pune. And you can select the policy, you can select the filter, like Zam has configured his Slack here. So he gets notified on his Slack here, right? So you can add your Slack channels as well. This is one of the other integration that you can do. And there would be many other things that you can add, like PagerDuty, mobile push, all kinds of ServiceNow, Okta, Microsoft Team messages. You can have number of web hooks as well, right? So these are kinds of things that you can configure with alerting and notifications. Now, let me just trigger so that you get notified. Right now, just going back to, we had five alarms that got triggered, right? So once I actually trigger an event now, like I delete an object from the production bucket, it should, expected is it should be six. So let me just go to CLI. And right now you can see that I am logged in. Okay, it's preparing. Yeah, you can see that I will just see who am I here. So I will just write caller identity. So right now I'm just logged in with the static credentials of the account. So these are the static credentials that I'm using for now. And then this is the ARN. You can see the ARN is of the customer. And this customer actually has all permissions, right? This policy has all operations to be allowed on any buckets. So that's not what we really want. That's a security breach. We will see what the security breach is. Right now, the bucket, this production bucket has few folders and files. I will try to delete one of the file here, like the photo or maybe file text. I'll delete the file text, file input.txt. Once I try to delete it, it allowed me because this user has all the permissions, right? And if I list it, it shows that I only have two objects in that bucket. And this operation was allowed, right? So we need to just wait for a few minutes and see if if really the alert was triggered. So I will go to this. I will refresh this. You can see it's already refreshing, means I did not click on refresh. It's already refreshing and it says that one alarm already got triggered here. And there are two notifications that are added. One is a notification to my mail, and the other notification is actually a Lambda function that I have configured with my New Relic account. And this New Relic account is the alarm trigger. So one notification should be here, and the other notification should come up in the New Relic alarm that I have configured. Let's wait for a few minutes because this takes a little time to reflect. But yeah, it should come up. Yes, I'll wait for a few minutes and then we can proceed with other things that I really wanted to show. So yeah, I'm just waiting for that. Mhm. I'll just wait for a few minutes. So I'll just screen share. I just got notified right now. You can see the time. It's 7:50 and in my laptop also it's 7:50 that an alarm is already triggered because I deleted a file, right? And also let's go to New Relic to see if this gets updated to 5 from 5 to 6. So yes, alarm also got notified and New Relic is about to respond that. I can also see it in the dashboard. From 1 week, it should show one more spike here. Let's make it 1 hour so that we see the spike in a better way. You should see, yeah, this is the spike here. Yep, this was the spike which was triggered few minutes before, like before I was recording this. And this is the spike that got triggered right now when I actually perform the deletion operation. So yes, this is how security breach is. Security breach was actually having a wildcard policy here and also use of access keys, static access keys. This got triggered with melt x, where x is metadata, where I'm having what kind of operation was performed, as well as on which bucket what corrective actions could be taken. So all of that is melt x, the x part of it. And yeah, so typically we had melt, that is metric event log traces, but with X coming factor, it changes the dynamics from configurations, what kind of permissions you have, what kind of policy changes like star, what are the user behaviors, right? If there is any kind of misbehavior in the environment, which is not ensuring zero trust architecture of the whole applications, that everything contributes to the X part of it, right? And also IAM here is the identity part of it. Also, I need to show you one more demo, which is few security practices that one should perform. And the first security best practice, according to me, is having configuration of access analyzer. This is one of the service which AWS highly recommends. Right now, you can just see that I have only one bucket almost, or maybe two buckets. One would be of CloudTrail. Yeah, I have one bucket, right, which is a production bucket. And also there would be policies, which would be, I guess, two or three policies. Yeah. But in any kinds of production subscription, there would be more than thousands of buckets and obviously more 10x times of policies. So it's not really easily navigable through the whole AWS subscription to see which bucket is not configured correctly, as well as which policy is given over permissive permissions or wildcard permissions, right? With star or any kinds of resources here, right? So all of these kinds of misconfigurations will not be easily navigable. It's not easy to navigate manually to go in each of the policies and each of the bucket. So AWS has come up with one of the good service, I must say, which helps in actually just you have to go to access analyzer and you have to click on create analyzer. Once you create the analyzer, it will actually scan your whole account, not just one bucket. It will scan your whole account and it will show you what are some of the active findings that are not according to the security best practices that AWS recommends. So one of the breach that I have here is public access, and the other breach is cross account access. And let's see what this public access is. So it shows here that I've given public access to this bucket, which is my production bucket, and I have cross account things. So let me show you what this production bucket, why it shows public access. This bucket You can see I went to the permissions. I have given block public access. It should actually be off. That is, it should not be having ticks anywhere. But I have given access, public access via access policies. You can see it here, and I've not allowed it through ACLs. So it's actually allowing public access through some policies. This is one of the breach, and the policy is I am giving any user to actually just read the contents of the bucket, which is not what anybody should be having access to. To just demo you one thing here, I have one photo. I can just copy the object URL and maybe paste it here. Let's see if I really get, okay, yeah, this is one of the photo that we had for, we clicked in during the event. So that's Zam and that's me. So it's allowing anybody to do it, right? That's really horrible. Any production bucket should not, the data should not be exposed to public. And that's what this findings really show, right? It has public access. That's not what we want. And also, there's one more finding here. You can see cross account access. So if I click on this cross account access, let me show you what this is. And this, what I recall is I have given access to Zameer of my account. I've given him admin access, all privilege access, because I wanted him to also configure Lambda functions with New Relic, right? So that is the reason this account is showing that I have cross account access findings as well. This is one of the AWS reserved role I have assigned to him. So yeah, I hope he doesn't actually do any kinds of mischief activities here because I'll be charged. So yeah, these are some of the findings that AWS has incorporated with Access Analyzer, and this is really nice, right? Even I didn't knew that I had granted public access to my buckets, right? So like directly with my bucket versioning and other things on. So with IAM Access Analyzer, everything could be found out what's happening in your account. So it's really nice to activate that. I highly recommend that. Even AWS recommends that. Other best practices would be not having static credentials and switching to dynamic credentials. So for how to switch and how to configure dynamic credentials, you can just scan this QR code. It has a detailed blog that I have written on how and why should you switch to dynamic credentials, and how any application can integrate with AWS and use dynamic credentials. And obviously, least privilege principle, never having over permissive permissions to any user, and also giving bare minimum users the permissions that that particular user needs, right? So that's least privilege principle. These are some of the most recommendations from my side to follow for security best practices. So yeah, that's all I wanted to discuss regarding the demo. I hope you really like the demo, and if you have any questions further, you can just ping me on LinkedIn. You can just scan my QR code. Also, you can ping Zameer. He's also really amazing person. I learned many things from him. So yeah, you can connect with both of us on LinkedIn. And that's it. Thank you for listening patiently and watching the demo. And I'm happy that my demo worked. And but remember that safety first always. And that those are some pictures that we had taken for the event. And you can get the slides from this. Yep. If any questions, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn. Bye bye. Have a good day.